A Southern California mayor had resigned after making a racist statement about black Americans killed by police officers. But of course, he's going to call this an oopsie. So now let me give you the details about this. Temecula Mayor James Stewart, who's pictured in the sidebar, had apologized and even tried to explain away his statement in an email in which he claimed he, quote, didn't believe there's ever been a good person of color killed by a police officer locally. Now, this is according to the Press Enterprise. Now, that statement is pretty yikes. Oh, no, there's never been a good person of color killed by police. So wait, you're saying they're all bad? What? All right. Now, this was in response to an individual that was concerned and said, hey, why don't we do some police sensitivity training, right? For race. Maybe that would help. I don't know, make it so that the police are better towards that community, and so you can build up some trust and all that stuff. And it's not a bad idea; it's a great idea. Doing some police sensitivity and all that. I'm not sure if that's going to be enough. Maybe it's enough for some of these small areas that don't have problems with policing. And certainly those exist, but I think in a lot of departments you have some major problems, and so it's important to enact those kinds of policies. So now his response is, why, what problem? We don't have a problem. What's going on here? So now that's interesting because you look back and you realize that in this case, and this guy, by the way, had moved from Illinois to California, to this area, to this neighborhood in 1991. In 98, there was a case of a woman named Taisha Miller. She was killed by Riverside police as she was sitting in the car. Now, she had a pistol in her lap, right? Now, Miller's family was worried about her, right? Because she appeared to be unconscious and in need of medical care. So I don't know, all the details of this case, I understand. And so what I can see is that they were concerned. And when the police showed up, they were concerned because she apparently had a gun. Now, it was sitting in her lap, and she appeared to be in medical distress, but the officers shot her anyway. Now, I understand that there is a risk of the unknown that police take, but in that case, if she's clearly having a medical issue and is unconscious, well, then maybe you could take that into account and not shoot her. I'm just saying. And so, yes, it's like the people who called the police on her were her family that were just concerned. I couldn't imagine like being that family and thinking, if only we had not called the police. I didn't know they weren't going to help me. I didn't know that that their help involved shooting and killing, our member of our family. So that's horrible. Okay. So now let me give you some detail about Riverside County's population, right? So now black people account about 7% of Riverside. And so they're a very small minority. It's a very white conservative area, right? However, they account for nearly 18% of the deaths while in law enforcement custody. So that's very disproportionate to the amount of the population in that area that's black. And so there seems to be an issue there. There seems to be an issue. Okay. And yet this guy says, oh, no. I don't believe there's ever been a good person of color killed by cops in our area. Oh, no. So now that's outrageous. So now Stewart comes back and he says, well, I didn't actually say good. No, there was an error in my recording software. Now, to be fair, recording software makes a lot of mistakes. Like, you should hear me talk to my iPhone. Like, it's horrible. Awful. And if you have an accent at all, disaster. Absolute disaster. So now he says this. Unfortunately, I did not take the time to proofread what was recorded. And he said, I absolutely did not say that. Okay, look, maybe I could accept that argument if his other statement, if his actual statement wasn't almost just as bad, or at least just as tone deaf. So now he says this. He says, "What I said, and I don't believe there's ever been a person of color murdered by police on context to Temecula or Riverside County." Okay, all right. He said, "I absolutely did not say good." I have no idea how that popped up. Uh, all right, look again. But this response is again to a question about police sensitivity training. When in reality, like, why aren't you doing that? Why? I mean, I'm curious because I think it would be helpful no matter what the context. So now he continues by saying, "You have every right to be hurt and offended. My typos and off the cuff response to an email on a serious topic added pain at a time where our community and our country is suffering. I may not be the best writer and I sometimes misspeak, but I am not racist." And then he goes on to say, and this is the most like, "I'm not racist, but" statement. He says, "I have several good friends that are African Americans, and they love living here because of how safe it is for them and their families. I'm not racist. I have black friends." Come on. Are you like, what are you doing? Hey, man, look, I can't, there's no way I could be racist. I have black friends. Okay, but was anybody calling you a racist? In reality, I think that what you were doing is you were blowing off legitimate concern for the community. Even if what you're saying, like, I don't know how that good popped in there. How did the good pop in? Right? Maybe, look, again, maybe it's a recording error. But then again, when in the context of what you're saying, like, how did that get there? How? I don't understand. Like, I get that there are issues with recording software, but I just don't see how that's possible. My guess is, and this is just my speculation, maybe I'm wrong, right? But I think he did say that, and then afterwards was like, when he got caught, he's like, "Oh, I actually don't think he did mean to say that way." It's one of those implicit things that just comes out. And that's part of implicit bias. It's part of that. Like, you can have racist thoughts. You can say racist things because that's ingrained in you and you don't realize it. Again, that's part of that implicit bias. You don't have to be a Klan member to be racist. You can just be like casually racist, and say things like that you don't realize are actually really terrible because you've never been called out for them and you don't realize how it actually hurts people. And so I think that's what this is. It is ingrained in some people, and it doesn't even have to be on your mind. So the good just slip back out. And that's the thing, because he basically did say that, or imply that, no, there's never been anybody, any person of color that has been murdered by the police in my area. No, they all deserve it. Again, murder is the key word here, not the good part, but murder. There's nobody in here that a person of color that's been murdered in my area. Well, so the people that did die as a result of police violence, they all must have deserved it. And that is racist. And so that is a problem, right? And so that's what he doesn't realize. Okay. And look, one of the things that they do on the right, and we're now seeing this from the right wing when it comes to George Floyd, right? Posting basically his, alleged criminal history, right? That's what they're doing, right? And so what they're saying is that, well, he wasn't a good person. Yeah, but that doesn't justify anything, whether or not somebody's a good person. It goes back to Mike Brown when they said, well, he's no angel. He did this and this and this. Or Ahmaud Arbery. Oh, yeah, but he did this. He broke into a construction site, which you can't really do because everybody's checking out that construction site. But doesn't matter. bad person, obviously they deserve what happened to them. And so that's the problem. But again, murder is murder, right? And besides the other part of that story about George Floyd, and I don't know if this is true, but from what I've been hearing, that is that he'd been trying to get away from his old life, that he had moved, from a different place to try to get a new, fresh start on his life. And if that's true, well, he was denied that second chance by Derek Chauvin over a $20 bill, a counterfeit $20 bill. And that's horrible. That's the real issue here, is that he lost his life over something that he shouldn't have. Lots of good people are murdered by police. Like, you got the case of Breonna Taylor, for example. She was shot 8 times in her own apartment. She was asleep. And it didn't matter, right? She was not a criminal. She was a medical professional. She was helping treat patients of coronavirus. And they broke, the police in plain clothes shot up her house, her apartment, 20 times. 8 times, shot her 8 times, killing her. I mean, she didn't do anything wrong. They already had the guy in custody that they're actually looking for. But no, we had to do that anyway. We had to break in and we had to murder this young woman. Not only that, Philando Castile, legal gun owner, right? Shot and killed in his car. Tamir Rice, child playing with a toy gun outside in the park. I mean, come on, to give it such a flippant response, typo or not, when it happens. And I understand that he's referring to his own community there, but nonetheless, I mean, you just look at the trends. It can happen in your community. It probably has, and actually has happened in this community. So, and so to give that response, typo or not, it's just absolutely uncalled for. And so he did do the right thing, of course, by stepping down, because unacceptable. And I think he realizes it. Unacceptable. Hey guys, hopefully you enjoyed that free video. Now I'm going to have to ask you a favor. Between the demonetization and the YouTube algorithm messing around with view counts, etc., we're having a hard time adjusting to the new YouTube reality, which is where you guys come in. See, we have a patreon.com/TYTNation set up to help us rely on you guys, the viewers, instead of big corporate ads. Look, you know the show. You know I'm not in favor of big corporations anyway. So help us transition away from relying on the ad model to pay the bills and sign up to be a patron, patreon.com/TYTNation. That goes a long way to help us keep the lights on. And you guys will know that you're supporting independent progressive media.